NFL betting show. It's really not the NFL betting show because we're going to talk college basketball. We're going to talk college football, and we're certainly going to talk about the NFL. I'm Ben Rasa here, as he always is, Julian Edlow. Happy Friday, sir.
Happy Friday. Because of the holiday last week, this is our first show in college hoops season, which I'm very excited about. You and I have been talking every day, sharing some sharp winning plays, sharing some devastating bad beats, and because it's early college basketball season and nobody ever knows what's going to happen, sharing just some awful swings and misses.
No doubt, but I will say college basketball has been off to a really nice start. We're going to try to keep that going. I've been really happy with it. You're going to take some, and we're going to get into some of those bets. We're going to jump around a little bit. Chad, it's good to see everybody. I want to just quickly talk about Wednesday. It was a game that I had circled on Thanksgiving. Obviously, things did not go according to plan, not in the sense of the bet. It wasn't the Ravens that I expected. The line didn't reflect that. It went to 10.5. They did end up covering, but did you take away anything? Honestly, my biggest takeaway is that Bud Dupree is out for the year.
Yeah, exactly. The Steelers are, this fake 11-0 team. I'm more curious about what this means for the Steelers' future and what it means for them going forward, because it seemed like Ben in the interview after the game was kind of pissed off about the schedule. Like, he gets pushed back. They play Wednesday night football now. Wednesday afternoon football now. They play Monday afternoon football against Washington. And they have a couple of tough games left on there. They have Cleveland. They have Indy. They have
the Bills.
They have not easy games coming up. So if this schedule comes up to get them, if they only lose one game, they still get the 1 seed because they own the tiebreaker over Kansas City. I looked this up because I know DK has odds on betting the 1 seeds in each conference now, which I thought was interesting. I saw Pittsburgh at -200, KC at +140. I was curious if KC had that tiebreaker at +140 on Kansas City is pretty nice, but they need Pittsburgh to lose twice and they would need to win out. But I will not put that past the Steelers at this point because that's a big injury and the schedule's adding up for them. I take nothing away from that game. It was a punt game almost for the Ravens, which stinks for them because they're right in the wild card mix and they really need to get in there. So yeah, it was no real takeaway. I made a small bet on the RG3 rushing prop just because I thought that would be his go-to with no real weapons and obviously a lot of rust to kick off. That hit, and I had Steelers money line to start off a little parlay for the week. So played it safe, small plays, easy things that hit.
Yeah, and the only other thing I keep forgetting, and I believe this is right, this year there's only one bye. Like, if you're the 2 seed, you have to play. So, like, the 1 seed actually matter. I know home field is not as important, but you're going to have 3 wild card, or whatever they're calling it, 6 teams will be playing, 3 winners, and then they will join the solo team in each conference that has the bye. So that is important, and it could determine a lot, honestly. We're going to shelf NFL just for a second because I want to go to start off to the college ranks. Strammy, what's up? Your Buckeyes will probably be in this conversation. But let's start. You want to start with a little college basketball? I know we haven't done that on this show.
Sure.
First of all, let's pour one out for Eastern Illinois yesterday. That hurt. Thought we were in full control, and you know what? That comes with the territory. College basketball, you're going to have situations like that. You've got teams that, seemingly can turn it on and off. What has been your takeaways? How has your year gone? And then kind of moving forward, what are you looking at as we get to the weekend?
Yeah, my year's gone pretty well so far. I've been just casually putting plays out on Twitter. I'm not doing like units and like handicapping it throughout the season and tracking it. I'm just kind of putting plays out and keeping record. So it's been going pretty well. I'm just a little bit over 500 on Twitter, but I've gone heavier on some stuff, done some in-game stuff. In-game, just really quickly, I think is huge in college. Just going back to one of those first games, my Rhode Island Rams taking on the Arizona State Sun Devils. URI hung tough with them, covered the 7 in that game, which was great. However, Fats Russell was doing absolutely everything for them offensively, whether it was scoring or creating off the dribble. I
or
think you were watching
fouling.
that game too, is right?
What'd you say?
Yeah, I think you were watching that game as well too, right?
Oh, I watched it. He had 4 fouls in the first half, which is
Right.
something I've never seen happen.
Ridiculous. So as soon as he picked and he played fantastic all the way until 5 minutes left in the game with those 4 fouls, bringing URI, like, I think they would have won that game if he didn't foul out. He was in control of the game. Fouls out with 5 minutes, and then it becomes extremely obvious that Arizona State is going to close out that game, and they're plus 155 on the money line or something. Keeping track of situations like that, I think, are bigger advantages than anything you'll see before a game. So that's just something that I want to make mention to. And it's something that you got to be, you only have 30 seconds to get that done. So it's not like a play you put out and you haven't all day to decide on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall the season's going well for me. I think I focus on just bigger games because I watch and know those teams better. You focus on these dumpster fire games that I have also been enjoying. But one way or another, I don't mind if it's a big game or a small game. I just want it to be a well handicapped game, which I think you did yesterday on whatever that school was again, and it just
That's
didn't
right.
work out.
No, I mean, listen, if you're close, we got a 24, close to 26. That's going to happen. They're up 23 at half. What do you do? Yeah, just to echo that, in college basketball, for people who maybe are a little unfamiliar, you only get 5 fouls. And I think one thing to take advantage of if you're watching a game is if someone important picks up 2 fouls in the first half. Generally, coaches will sit them
That's
for
your
the
URI.
entire first half. I tend to, if it's a situation that I kind of was leading towards the team, if I see that, I will bet that first half line right there, because you're basically getting a quote unquote the rest of that game, considering it's only the first half, without the other team's possible best player for the entire half. Rarely do you see them bring them back. And that's something that I don't think the lines really account for as much as they should. So look for that. Little things. I mean, this is not breaking any news. Like, if you have teams that are, it's a slow start and you look and they're 1 for 12 from the field, well, I wouldn't panic so much. There's ebbs and flows in these games. And there's so many games that you really can pick your spots. That's the other thing. I have a couple bets in college basically every day. There's also a handful of games that I like that I actually don't bet, just because, it gets a little dangerous if you're betting 10 games a day. It's probably too many. You want to try to be selective unless you really like the spots.
Absolutely. The board is overwhelming in
Yes,
college basketball, and I never have enough time to get around to every game of that day when there's a
that
lot of
too.
good games at the top. I'm not going to get to your Eastern Illinois, but
Yeah, I'll do that.
check in with you, and you'll let me know if there's anything going on down there in the basement. And then once you point something out to me, then I can start looking into that spot. Yeah, big boards. There's days where I have 1 or 0 college basketball plays, like yesterday. I was prepared to play nothing yesterday, and then I played the Eastern Illinois. And then there's days when we have these great afternoon tournaments going on into the evening where I'll have 6, 7, 8 plays. And it's just how it works out. But I think also when it spaces out throughout the day, it gives you time to handicap each time window better rather than doing like 8 games at 7 o'clock. That's a little more dicey.
No doubt. So before we move to college football and whatnot, is there anything there's 50 games today. I know it's very early, obviously. One of the many reasons you want to be in our premium Slack chat. We have some really sharp people. Obviously, Julian is in there. I'm in there talking about these games, news breaks. You can take advantage. But is there anything there? Do you want to talk? I know we won't be on Baylor, Gonzaga. Is there anything that you want to mention in the college basketball realm before we move to a little football?
Yeah, not a ton jumps out to me again today, but like you said, there's a lot and it's early, so I need to dive into stuff. I almost grabbed Oregon -1 last night, and now it's -3. I like Seton Hall. I think they're a better team than people think, and Oregon did not look good in its first game. I kind of wanted Oregon to pick them here, but if this is getting up to 3 or 4, I might take a look at Seton Hall, who's a really good team, even with Miles Powell gone. They did lose at URI on Wednesday night by 13 somehow. It was a close game the entire way. It just kind of fell apart at the end for them. That's a game where I need to see the number, because I was ready to back Oregon and to pick them, and now I'm kind of looking at Seton Hall. That's something that jumps out to me on Friday night. But there's some good look ahead stuff. I know DK has lines up on games all the way through, like, for a while, but Saturday I am almost certainly going to be on Gonzaga. I think they're the best team in the country. Baylor's defense is going to present some big issues. I'm not overlooking that. But I think Gonzaga, especially assuming Jalen Suggs is healthy, who somehow looked like he played through, like, it looked like he tore his Achilles. And
I thought
then
he was out for
out
the
there.
year.
Yep. I thought he tore his Achilles. He was done. My Zags plus 1,000 futures were in jeopardy. And then you see him running around the hallway, and it's like, oh, wow, maybe he'll play Saturday. And then he's back in the game. That was unbelievable. But yeah, props to Gonzaga. They're a great team, but I'm going to be backing Gonzaga in that one. And I already got some 2.5 because it'd been up on DK for a while. It looks like they took some lines down, but the Super Tuesday matchups are great. I like a couple of dogs. UNC, last I checked, was plus 4.5 against Iowa. Luke Garza has been tremendous so far, but I don't think he's going to score 30 points per half against UNC. I think they have some bodies that they can throw at him. Contain him, and which is not easy, but contain him, and I think UNC has other advantages across the floor. So I'll take the 4.5 with UNC, and then Illinois plus 3.5 against Duke is one of my favorites. Duke has the talent, no doubt, but sometimes it takes a little time to put it together early in the season. We just saw them go up 10 early on Michigan State at Cameron, and then Michigan State, a veteran Michigan State squad, just ran them out of the building the rest of the way. I think Illinois is a superior team to Michigan State, so getting points here with Illinois, who has one of the best 1-2 inside-out punches in the country. They hung with Baylor for 30 minutes until the wheels kind of fell off against one of the best teams in the country. I really like Illinois on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think Illinois is an interesting buy low spot just because I think we might find out that Baylor is a super team, and there's no shame going down to them. That loss, I may in time look impressive rather than a
right.
So I'm not gonna. I haven't. I'll be honest, because you look at the slate today. This is more my speed than yours. There's a lot of bad teams, so I haven't really turned the page to these big time games. I will be leaning on you for that. I'm just going to throw out one game today. It actually starts at 3:00. It's a team I bet the other day. Got it done in relatively easy fashion against Stony Brook. I'm going to St. Peter's. The Peacocks. They are getting 13,
of course, you're going to the Peacocks.
Of course, I'm going to the Peacocks. They're getting 13 points at Maryland. And at first glance, you're just like, what? At Maryland? That seems awful. Maryland's a fine team. They did lose some key players, including Cowan. And St. Peter's, very methodical, 330th in the country in tempo. They're going to slow the pace. They lost by 1 to St. John's, beat LaSalle by 11, beat Stony Brook by 14. Do I think they're going to win the game? No. Do I think the game could be played in the 60s, though? Yes. And that, for me, when I'm getting 13 points, is very important. So I don't know what to make of Maryland just yet, to be honest. They're 3-0. They haven't really been tested, but I'm not sold on Old Dominion, Navy, or Mount St. Mary's. I think this is by far the best team they are going to have played so far. I think 13 is just a little heavy, so I will take those points. It's a 3:00 game, so there is a little of that if you want something to root for, obviously, on a light day for me, no doubt.
One more look ahead spot I missed in one of the bigger games. Sunday at 1:00 when NFL kicks off and everybody is focused on that, Villanova will be playing Texas.
Ooh.
This one was Texas plus 5.5 on DraftKings for a while. I gave that out on a podcast yesterday. Check back an hour later, and it's Texas plus 2.5. Significant movement. I think I like Texas outright. I also, just if it wasn't clear, I like Illinois. I'll be taking the spreads, but I'll be sprinkling money lanes. I like Illinois outright against Duke on Tuesday. Texas, as you know, 99% of the minutes returning. Extremely veteran team that got every single player back. They have blown out Indiana, who's a top 25 type of team. They got past UNC to win the Maui Invitational in North Carolina. I think Texas is a really good team. Villanova has shown, it's a bit shaky. It lost to Virginia Tech. That's another spot that I'm looking ahead to over the weekend.
Yeah, and listen, you're gonna have one of the many reasons you should follow us post on Twitter. You'll have some plays out there. You get in Slack. We're gonna be breaking it all down. Some articles should be out as well. But let's move it on. We're gonna stick in college for a second, then we'll get to NFL. But I just want to talk college football briefly. I know that's not, with so many sports you have to prioritize, and college football I think isn't your priority. Honestly, right now it's not even mine. College basketball trumps it. Is there anything that you want to talk about, or do you want me to just dive into some of these egregious plays?
Yeah, like college football was something I just kind of bet for fun to begin with. Like I want to get sharp plays and make money, but like it's something to do on Saturday when nothing else is on the board. At this point, it's pretty much done for me, and especially with things winding down, like teams' last games now.
Yep.
I'm looking at, like, I have things like Alabama to win the SEC, Clemson to win the ACC, tied in like parlays, stuff like that, big games that I'm looking forward to later in the month. I'm very intrigued, I will say, by this BYU Coastal Carolina game. I think it's a really cool ad. I want to watch it. I want to try and get some type of action in it. I lean to BYU.
Same.
But yeah, I don't have, sometimes I come in here with a Alabama team total or whatever. I'll have maybe one or two college football bets in bigger games, but nothing really special. I'm looking forward to that BYU Coastal game.
Me too. I think that, and listen, I'm a big Coastal Carolina fan. I'm just not sure that they've faced anybody of the, Appalachian State's a fine team, and we're going to see them tonight. BYU to me is a legitimate. I think I'll say it like this, and this analogy is probably not perfect. I think that BYU is closer to Cincinnati than Coastal is to BYU. Like, to me, Cincinnati and BYU are actual legitimate party crashers. Marshall and Coastal Carolina are just good teams that are undefeated. So this is a huge test. If Coastal Carolina wins this game, they are a legitimate team, and you have to give them credit. I love them. I'd probably be rooting for them. I don't like it, though. I just want to throw out a couple games, and then we'll get to the NFL. Iowa State is 6.5-point favorite at home against West Virginia. This is a team that they started awful. They lost to Louisiana Lafayette. But once Big 12 play started, they are right in the thick of things. They've beaten Oklahoma, and they could win that conference. They cannot afford to lose this game. I don't think they lose it at home. And then the other game, this is an interesting one. We've got Indiana, who's obviously been very oppressive this year. They only have one loss to Ohio State. They're a 14-point underdog going into Wisconsin, and obviously that is due to their leader going down with a torn ACL. They lost their quarterback. But their backup quarterback has some pedigree. He was a heavy recruit out of Utah, Jack Tuttle. I don't think it's going to be that big of drop-off, and that's no disrespect to Penix. He's a great player. But I think Jack Tuttle could easily slide right in there. Wisconsin has been ravaged by COVID. We've only seen them 3 times. The over-under is 45 in the game. I think 2 touchdowns is a little heavy for a team that I'm not going to automatically assume that Indiana is just done because they lost their quarterback. So I'm going to lean to the Hoosiers there on the road. I think they make that a game, and people are overreacting to the loss of a quarterback, which is, again, it's always a big deal, but not when you have a backup who has some pedigree.
I trust you there. That wasn't on the radar for me. I just knew about the injury and just it goes right past me.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing, of course, obviously, if we knew what this guy could do, the spread wouldn't be 14. Like, we would have our answer. I'm just inferring that, again, this is someone I expected big things from. He hasn't really gotten his shot. And on the other side, Wisconsin opens the year, they crush Illinois. Their quarterback, the freshman Mertz, looks unstoppable. He has like no incompletions. Since then, it has not gone nearly as smoothly. They were dismantled by a Northwestern team in terms of not being able to manufacture anything. They scored 7 points in that game. I don't think Wisconsin is that good. So I'm coming at it from both sides. And again, 2 touchdowns and an over-under of 45, that's a pretty small window. Like, if that game hangs around that total, that means that no one thinks Indiana is going to do much of anything.
Yep. 2 touchdown spreads with 45 totals.
Yeah.
You get the picture.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, more college plays. You've got questions. You hit us up on Twitter. You hit us up in Slack one more time.
I got a question for you.
Please.
How is Virginia Tech's defense because
It's
Clemson has
not.
been
It's certainly
missing.
not vintage.
Clemson has been. Here's my thought process. Clemson has been missing some games, as has Ohio State, which is another spot. So what I'm thinking this year, one of my thought processes this year when I've been betting college football is teams that have been getting limited opportunities. These elite teams getting limited opportunities. Normally, they don't take their foot off the gas because they want to get in that top four and be in the playoff. Now, when you're getting games axed left and right, you need to be full throttle even more so to be sure that if a BYU doesn't creep in because they get more game, like scheduling a really good game this weekend, they get another game in, you need to be sure that nobody's going to creep up behind you because you only got 6 games in. So in those games you got to score like 7. If you can score 70, score 70. So like I look at like Clemson, Ohio State, those like 43, 44 team totals, and look at the overs. Clemson scored 31 in the first quarter last week against Pittsburgh. So like that's a spot I'm considering against Virginia Tech rather than messing around with 22.5 points, which if they get the team total over, they probably cover, but still.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I kind of like, it's not a spot I looked at, but I'll be honest, Virginia Tech is going to score in this game. They've got a capable offense. Now, unless you're playing an elite defense, I don't think it really matters for a team like Clemson. They're going to hang what they hang. Like, yes, could they get 60? I guess. But they're going to move the ball. They're going to score. To me, it's more, can Virginia Tech, I don't want to say keep up, but can they do their part? I think the answer to that is yes. They have a mobile quarterback. They've got some running backs that can, Herbert can cause some problems. I don't mind that. I think it's a little light at 62.5. I'm not saying I'm going to play it, but you have options. And we'll keep an eye on it. But anything else before we get to what's going to be a wild NFL Sunday?
Negative. Let's get to the NFL.
I do want to say real quick, obviously, December, we're on a little golf hiatus, which is kind of nice, but that doesn't mean we aren't busy here at Awesemo.com. We've got MMA. NBA is starting in a couple weeks. NFL, college basketball, college football. There's anything that's going on, we have it. We've got projections, we've got tools, we've got ownership, all built by Alex Baker. So if you haven't signed up and you want to, come in for a week. Try it out, see what you think, and then we know you're going to stick around for maybe a month or even a year with our plans. We have so many different options. You can get a single sport. You can get the Platinum, which covers everything if you like to play a lot of different sports. Plus, we're doing more betting content, so make sure you do that. Obviously, go check out oddshopper.awesemo.com. That's what we're going to be talking about here. Me and Julian, shopping those lines, getting the best numbers, tracking your bets, player props, everything that you need on the betting side. Odd Shopper has you, but it's a weird schedule. So we've got 12 games on Sunday, 2 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday. When I looked at the spreads, I was actually pretty surprised. There's more, north of a touchdown than I thought. So every time I see that, honestly, I think of you. You're the first person I think of in that, because I think, is this teaser season?
Kind of.
Okay.
So more than like 2-point teasers where teams are at like 10 or 13 and like getting them down to 3. I'm at the point of the year where I want maybe more of a money line parlay, even if it's 3 teams that are way up there that I feel even safer about.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say this, like we're at the stage of the season in this type of season, like we just had a week with Wednesday afternoon football and a team playing without a quarterback. It's true. Messy. So the best bets at this point, like, I can put out an article on Wednesday with like, here are 3 NFL plays I like. There's so much that can change. My best bet of the last 5 years in the NFL was getting the Saints minus 6.5 last week. And that you just had, a 5-minute window to either get it or you don't when that Broncos news comes out. So like the best thing you can do at this point in the year is pay attention to the news on Friday and Saturday when we get these final designations of like who's in, who's out. There's going to be random key names of the entire quarterback room not wearing masks, and now a team doesn't have a quarterback. Like that's the stuff you want to look out for at this time of the year. But I also think that we are getting to a point in the year where rather than messing around with too many spreads, we know who's good and who's bad and who's playing for what. Like early on, like when you're trying to do this in week 2, you see Jacksonville beat Indy It's like, well, is Jacksonville actually good? Does Indy suck? It's like, no, we've now established that was just a giant fluke. So, like teams that I'm looking at, the Jets probably aren't going to win a game. Vegas is in a huge bounce back spot after getting embarrassed by the Falcons. They're winning that game. That's a teaser or a money line parlay piece that I would be willing to throw in. You keep going down the board to Eagles and Packers. Do I want to bet the Packers minus 8.5? No. Look what happened on Monday Night Football. The Eagles covered that game when you knew there was never a sniff of them winning it the entire way. That's why I don't want to mess around with numbers like this the rest of the season. But I am very confident that the Packers will be in a similar position to the Seahawks and be in control of that game the entire way and win. It's arguably as big a mismatch of quarterbacks as you could have outside of Mahomes. Rodgers is playing as well as anyone, and Carson Wentz might be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL right now.
Harsh.
Maybe Cam Newton. I'll say that. Cam Newton might be worse, which I might have a play on the Patriots this week. The Chiefs, obviously, against the Broncos. Like, let's just take those three. If you slap those together, Chiefs, Packers, Raiders, that gets you like a minus 130, minus 125 parlay. Like, I know 3-team moneyline parlays are like square as hell. You don't want to do them all the time, but like, do we really think that the Jets, Broncos, or Eagles are going to win this week? I don't. So it's a week where I'm looking at stuff like that. I'm not locking stuff in until Sunday at this point, pretty much, because anything can happen. But something like that is what I'm looking at for this weekend.
Related to that, we had a good question from chat from Hill3TD's Wilson. So can you talk about parlays? How often do you do this, and how many teams are you parlaying max? So I'll say a couple different things, and then I'll pass it to you. First off, I think it really, like most things with betting, it depends on what your goals are. If you want to have some fun and you're looking for a big payoff, you want to throw 4 teams in a parlay and take a shot, you can do it. Obviously, you get that upside. But if you're really trying to grind out profit, parlays are not the best idea. There are situations that Julian's talking about where you don't want to lay the points. There's bad numbers, and I think there's more value. I'll reference another college basketball game. Last night, I really liked Arizona State. It was a 6-point spread, and it just felt like one of those games where they were going to win. I was very confident they were going to win, but I thought the spread was not too much. It was just about right, honestly. I looked to pair them up in a moneyline parlay. They ended up covering the game. They won by 8, but I was so happy that I didn't have to sweat out a fluke basket.
Well, it was at 6 with like 30 seconds.
Yeah, a couple
left.
Foul shots.
That was a coin flip spread, and I'm the same as you. I had Arizona State money line and 2 parlays there, so that I agree with you. Even though it covered, that could have gone either way.
Yeah, I think that you want to be selective. I'll sometimes have a 2-team money line parlay looking to get it to about minus 110, maybe even a little plus money. Rarely, if ever, though, do I have like 3 or 4 team parlays, against the spread, round robins, stuff like that, unless I'm really looking for some upside and trying to take an actual, not a big risk, but a big reward, I guess.
Yeah. So for me, my parlays, I don't parlay spreads. I don't parlay underdogs. It's teams that I really trust to get it done, where I don't want to have to worry about them winning by multiple possessions to win the game. So like the Eagles and Seahawks is the perfect example the other night, even though the spread was a 1-possession game. Like you just don't want to be laying late in the season 10 points and it's a 14-point game late and that defense just caves in and gives that touchdown up with 30 seconds left. That's the worst feeling in the world. Everybody's been there. So I just think we can, especially at this stage of the season, like there are just teams that we can trust more than others and teams that we know stink. Like the Raiders playing for a wild card spot, coming off a bad loss and going against the Jets who just are so uncompetitive. I don't want to lay 8.5, but I don't see the Raiders losing that game. So for me, normally I want to get two favorites and get them to around minus 110, minus 120, like you said. But at this stage, we have bigger favorites on the board, and we have spots that I'm more confident in. Like I consider, the 3-teamer that I just gave out, like I consider that a Raiders Packers money line parlay, and the Chiefs are like a free square against the Broncos on Sunday Night Football. Like there's no way they're going to lose that game.
No.
And so it's like a free square to add a little bit more juice to get it closer down. Because if you take the Chiefs out, you're looking at like a minus 180 parlay, and you put them in, and it gets it down to minus 125 or so. It's a pretty big difference for me.
Yeah, you just have to pick your spots because obviously the trap that people can fall into is looking at the games individually. Like when you're all these games, it's like, well, they're not going to lose. That's why they're minus 350, minus 400. They only have to lose, quote unquote, 1 out of 5 times. So I think it's just about trying to prioritize. For me, the Raiders coming off a 43-6 loss they're the team I'm taking in Survivor. I wrote that article will be posted. You can check that out if somehow you're still alive. In Survivor. I think the Raiders, and to me, the Vikings. I want to talk about that. I actually, if this gets to 9.5, right now they are a 10-point favorite at home against the Jaguars. If this gets to 9.5, I will certainly still use them, probably in some maybe teasers or money line. I will also bet them against the spread. I think they absolutely blow the doors off Jacksonville. They need this game. Dalvin Cook gets hurt every game, but he also comes back in every game. And Mike Glennon, listen, it's just the Jaguars are atrocious. They're Julian, you picked up on this early in the year. The mileage that we got from them beating the Colts randomly made them such a good fade for several weeks because they were just being overvalued off one completely fluky win.
Yep, I agree. Maybe that's a team that you use instead of the Packers if you think the Eagles are good. Like I'm not against using the Vikings. I just stayed away from it because at the higher number, they're close to like minus 500 on the money line in some spots. It doesn't get you down to as low as I'd prefer to get in the money line parlay. You could also take the Chiefs out, who are a monster favorite. If you did Raiders, Vikings, and Packers, now you're right around that minus 110 to even money number that you want, and that's pretty safe. It feels like the Packers to me are the one that you're not sold on. You like the Raiders and the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Packers, this is where I think it's kind of what I just said. The Packers should win that game. I think they do win that game quite often. Do I think the Eagles could win the game? Absolutely. Any of these teams, I mean, it's the NFL. We know that. To me, the Vikings is the best bet of these teams against the spread, though. It's a healthy total at 51. Jacksonville is just awful. I do not think it stays competitive. Like the Seahawks are also a 10-point favorite going against Colt McCoy. Most of these spots seem very safe. I just don't think you want to blindly back all of them. You want to pick and choose, shop the odds, like Julian's saying. They're not all created equal. You can get 3 of these teams and it's minus 175. You get 3 others that are slightly maybe a little riskier and it's minus 120. That's a pretty sizable gap that you're going to want to consider. Are there any spreads, though? We've talked about these big spreads. You've got a couple games, several sitting around a field goal, whether it's Colts Texans, Saints Falcons, Lions Bears, Rams Cardinals. Any of these competitive games that caught your eye?
I would say 2 of them. And so Colts, you really wanted to get that minus 2.5 opening. But I do think, Houston has won and covered 2 in a row. I think maybe people are getting a little bit hyped up on the Texans, but we saw what Will Fuller did on Thanksgiving. Without him in that offense, that's a huge piece missing. And then Roby, the number 1 corner, injured. And the Colts are coming off a blowout loss. They also went to overtime with the Packers, which is nothing wrong with that. So I think they're being a little overlooked here. So money's come in on the Colts, but the Texans, the majority of the season, 2 weeks ago, if we're having this conversation, the only team they've beaten is Jacksonville twice. Now they have wins over the Patriots and Lions. The Colts are a better team. The Colts need the game more. I haven't bet it, but I would lean to the Colts. I would like to get 3. I think that, better defense. Deshaun Watson, I just don't think he can play as well with Brandon Cooks now as the go-to guy, and whoever else, Kiki Kute, and
Possibly Stills.
possibly still. So like, who knows? I think that the Colts should win by 3 or more.
I have one game. This is my favorite bet of the week, and it's a bad team. I believe I can never remember. I think this is a team that you need to crash and burn, and they're helping you out. They've lost 5 straight. I like the Bears -3.
Bears.
What?
The Bears?
Bears -3. You just want to talk about bad teams. The Lions are just awful. Finally, they jettisoned their coach as they should have. Coming off 20, they lost 20-0 to the Panthers. Then they were disgraced on Thanksgiving, 41-25. They've lost 4 of 5. Their win was against Washington. I don't see anything. Stafford is banged up. Golladay being back could help, but I don't like this team in any capacity. We have to see what's up with Swift. Him sitting again, if that is the case, would be huge. But I also want to talk about the Bears. Obviously, I'm not saying they're playing well, but they've lost 5 straight at the Rams, the Saints, at the Titans, the Vikings, and at the Packers. I mean, those are good teams. I'm not saying that you should be losing every game, but it's not like they're losing to garbage teams. I do think that Trubisky is an upgrade over Nick Foles. He gives you upside. He gives you a bad floor, but at least he can move the ball. Some of it is in garbage time, and this is just a game they have. If they have any hope, they have to win this game. They're still somehow in it at 5-6. At home, they already beat the Lions in week 1, 27-23. I think this should be more around 6.5, I'll be honest. I think that the Bears find a way to get this done. It's a good number at 3. Trubisky, better team. They are just a better team at home. And I don't think that the Lions have much going for them, again, with the coaching change. This is it for the Bears, do or die situation.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I do have the Bears -170 to miss the playoffs. That got to like nearly +200 at one point, and I thought I was done. And then this beautiful 5-game losing streak happened, and now it's quite alive again. Even if Chicago wins this game, Detroit's horrible. So I agree with you. I think that the Bears defense is strong enough to pull this one out and just be solid on offense. Don't turn the ball over, Trubisky, and they should get this one done at home. So I don't mind that play at all.
Yeah, and just like, again, I don't like to do this, and I'm not saying it's the end-all be-all, but like, they lost by 3 to the Saints in overtime. They lost by a touchdown to the Titans. They lost by 6 to the Vikings. Last week, it got away from them in Green Bay. But again, this is a team that, to me, they have flashes of what could be a playoff team. They have a strong unit defensively. They can rush the quarterback. Detroit is in a free-for-all. They've lost 4 of 5. Stafford is hurt, as I mentioned. And they haven't been competitive. 16-point loss to the Texans, 20-point loss to the Panthers where you score no points. I don't see much changing there. So that's my favorite bet of the week. I have to ask you about the Cardinals. Do you have a feel? I think that's an easy stay away game, very difficult to break down, but them and the Rams could go a long way in deciding the West and playoff positioning.
Yeah, and this kind of ties in. I was going to ask you a question, and this ties in for you because I know you have Cardinals futures that we're both going to lose.
We are.
Like, how do you feel? I feel it's important to be like aware. I have the Bears missing the playoffs, but if I think the Bears are one of the better bets this week, and they're going to get a win against the Lions, to bet on the Bears, even though I have a future, fading them. How do you feel about that? I think it's good to say, I think I need to back the Bears in this spot, even though I'm against them, and I still have hope for my future, even if they win and cover this week.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, what's done is done. Like, I'm not going to say, man, I love this spot, but I can't bet it because I have a position against it. If you really like I have bet the Cardinals this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that they lose all their games, but if there's a spread that I'm very confident in, I have to try to hope that that's a very tight middle where they win that game and ultimately I still cash these futures. So I would not hesitate to bet a team, even if I had a shorting position, because that's more of a long-term approach.
Yeah. I think people can struggle with that, and especially towards the end of the season where we're getting closer to the finish line of cashing the futures of, I can't bet on the Bears. I have them to miss the playoffs. I need them to lose. But it's a good spot to bet the Bears, and I might join you there. So just keep that in mind, people. And with that said, on this Cardinals game, I don't think I'm going to bet this game because I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. I don't even think I'm going to offer any insight here. Do you have some?
I wish I did. So my insight is that both of these teams that have a little Jekyll and Hyde to them. I clicked into Odd Shopper, on the matchup page. The betting is very split. You look at the Rams. I mean, they have games where Goff drops back 50, 60 times. And then you have games where he just looks absolutely helpless. I don't know what to make of them. I do think Cam Akers is starting to assert himself in that backfield. That's more on the DFS side, maybe the prop side, if you get a number on him. I'm not sure. And again, we're not doctors. Kyler just looks like that shoulder is even affecting his wheels. I wasn't really impressed with what they did against New England. I didn't think that, I'll be honest, I didn't think that was a penalty against Cam at the end there. But it didn't change the fact that they were just not really doing much. They need to unlock Hopkins. We'll see if Fitz comes back here. He was a COVID issue. They're missing Chandler Jones. They're missing their nose tackle. I think Arizona is starting to wear down a little bit.
I agree. And the Rams are also, impressive win in Tampa, gross loss to San Francisco. They're in a bounce back spot. If you made me bet the game, I would take the Rams.
Same.
But, a division road favorite late in the season, I don't want to bet this game is what I'm saying. But tying into the Cardinals a little bit, and somehow this is a team I've had a bad read on for a month now, the New England Patriots. I loved Baltimore. I thought they were going to smash them. New England wins that game at home. I thought New England got some momentum, could run all over the Texans. I liked them in Houston. Houston wins that game. Stayed away last week. Had a lean to the Cardinals if you made me bet the game. Of course, New England wins. New England now in LA to face your guy, Justin Herbert, and the Chargers. The Chargers cover games, but they don't win games. So now in a pretty much a pick 'em, you're going to have to win to cover.
Yeah, if they cover and don't win this game, that would break the league.
Yeah, that's math right there. So I think last week, Cam Newton had 80 passing yards, multiple turnovers. Disgusting. And the Patriots win that game. I think it was a huge coaching mismatch between Bill Belichick and Cliff Kingsbury. And I think the gap only grows this week with Bill Belichick coaching against Anthony Lynn, who we all saw last week, doing stuff like you just take a guy off the couch who's smashed back a 12-pack on a Sunday afternoon, and he's going to do a better job than Anthony Lynn.
What was that? I bet, me and Julian did a 3-pack of bets last week in a short form video, and one of mine was the Bills. And I just was like, well, another Hail Mary. Here we go. I've lost some stupid bets like that. But somehow the Chargers just tried to run it in on the goal line after that. I've never seen anything like that. They're wasting a lot of talent again. Weird game. Yeah, it's sitting around pick'em right now. I see the angle. It's just weird teams, both.
Yep.
In some way.
The Patriots do not encourage me. That offense stinks. I think it might be worth a small bet on the Patriots because of the coaching mismatch. And even more so, I might not even bet it, but I might just watch the first half. And maybe the Chargers are up 7 at halftime. I think Belichick's going to do a much better job in the second half than Anthony Lynn. And you look at a second half line there for New England to adjust some things. Whereas the Chargers just go into the locker room and twiddle their thumbs and come out and see what happens in the second half. So that's my thought there. It's not a big bet. It's not a go all in on New England. It's let's consider taking them in a pick 'em to win that game because the Chargers are done and the Patriots at least still have some wild card hope. They have reason to win this game. And once we watch some of this game, I think adjustments are only going to favor the Patriots in the second half.
No doubt. I do want to say real quick, couple things. One, on this Friday morning, our man Jordan Klein behind the glass is actually taking some well-deserved vacations. We got Josh Engelman behind the glass, and I know what he would say. He would say hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We're building that channel up. We appreciate everyone who joins, and we really think the best way to get involved is to subscribe to the channel. You won't miss a show. We have so much content, and hitting the like button helps us out a ton on this Friday. I do really appreciate it. I want to say, just off what you were just talking about, Julian, if you think that the Patriots win the game, Damian Harris, 62.5 rushing yards. I know James White somehow found the end zone twice last week. Do you feel confident that you can predict the volume on the ground? Or is that a situation where you say, you know what, I feel actually more comfortable with the team than an individual prop?
I really want to. Against Houston, I felt more confident. I bet twice as much on Damian Harris over 62.5 rushing yards than I did on Patriots money line. And he had 39 yards in the first quarter and finished with 43. They completely went away from him against Houston's bottom of the barrel, worst in the NFL rushing yards allowed per game defense, and lose the game. So it does not inspire much confidence in me, which then goes back to, then why do I think the Patriots are going to win the game? I guess because I'm fading Anthony Lynn, but I want to say yes, but I think the responsible thing to do is to stay away because we don't know where they're going to go. There are other backs factoring in. It should be a game where Damian Harris carries the ball 20 times for 80, 90 yards, but it just might not be because the Patriots, for some reason, have been deciding not to go that way.
Boy. Yeah, it's been a very difficult team to break down. I've mostly stayed away, and I probably going to continue to do that. I may look to the prayer props. Jacoby Myers, the target share has been there time and time again. I'm interested to see on the other side what happens with Keenan Allen, what Gilmore can do. Final thing, we've got a couple minutes left. I do want to ask you, I'm a Buffalo Bills guy. I don't like the spot, though. The Niners are not dead and buried just yet. You talked about earlier in the year, how just injury ravaged they were once Bosa went down. It was a domino effect. The pendulum is swinging a little bit the other way. They are getting healthier. They've gotten some guys back, Debo and co. It's basically a pick 'em. I don't even know where they're playing the game. I think they're playing in Arizona.
Arizona, right?
Arizona. So I guess that's kind of a home game. But do you have a feel on what's a huge game, but a very difficult one to break down?
Not much, but it's not like the 49ers are going to be comfortable here at home. This is a legitimate neutral site game. Like, it's no fans, so it's kind of a neutral site all year, but at least somebody is sleeping in their own beds and going to their own stadium that they're comfortable in. That's not the case here. So this is saying that the Bills and 49ers are completely even teams. And I don't think they are. I actually kind of would lean to the Bills here if I'm picking a side. I know you're nervous about your Bills in this spot. I think Buffalo's the better team. So if you're telling me this is legitimately a neutral site game, I want Buffalo.
God, I hope you're right.
I also prefer Buffalo because I did bet Niners plus money once the injuries came in, plus money under 10.5 wins in season, plus money under 9.5 wins in season. I went back for more at a worse number because I liked it a lot, and they look strong. So we'll see, but I do need them to lose games like this. So my lean to the Bills is unbiased. It's simple handicapping, I guess. I think that the Bills are the better team, and we get a legit neutral site game. So that is the team that I feel I would play if I had to play the game.
Simple enough. Thoughts on Devontae Booker this week? Could be the starter. Yeah, he could be. I think that if we get that news solidified and the player prop market is open and hasn't taken advantage, you absolutely can go there against the Jets are just atrocious. In terms of the Raiders, I prefer Jacobs, but I'm not worried. I don't care who. It's not going to be Frank Gore for the Raiders backfield. That's the Jets backfield. So you don't have to worry about that. I don't care who they throw back there. The Raiders have to win this game, and I think they'll be just fine. So the last thing before we bounce on out of here, and don't go anywhere because coming up, I believe, 11 a.m. Eastern. Alex Baker, the man himself, with Josh Engelman, talking some NFL, getting you guys ready for everything on Week 13. Certainly you need to hear what they have to say. Is Keenan Allen a start this week, considering who's guarding him? I think so. The volume will be there. I mean, you're a
Volume's always
Gilmore.
there.
Yeah, it's always there. Is there one game, I'm not saying you're going to bet this, but if you had to take an upset, a money line, a team to win outright, is there any team? I'm going to put you to the test. I'm going to do a 2-part question here. Any money line team, and then any money line of the teams north of a touchdown. So a true upset.
Okay.
So do you want me to throw one out there first?
Go ahead.
I think the obvious one, to me, would be the Cardinals. That game's just a toss-up in my mind. We've talked about the Rams, and then both are capable of winning. I think I like the Rams in the game, but you're looking at a 2.5 point spread. That wouldn't even remotely shock me if the Cardinals went in and or not went in, just held serve at home.
Yeah, that's one. The other one I would go to Falcons.
That's an interesting one.
New Orleans, the defense has been great lately, but now they're in Atlanta. They're maybe due for some regression. Atlanta can win that game, I think.
No, I wouldn't. And listen, the spread kind of indicates that it's only a field goal. Falcons, despite blowing a ton of games, they still have a lot of talent. Chat, yeah, feel free to throw out your upset specials. We got a couple Texans to beat the Colts, the Browns. Are the Browns underdog? I don't know about. Oh yeah, they are 6-point underdog, obviously.
Tennessee.
All right. So now this is obviously. Do I think this is going to happen? No, and I'm sure you feel the same way. But of the teams that are north of a touchdown, who would be the one to pull the big time upset?
Yeah, I don't like any of these. I don't know how I'm here, but I guess I'm going Washington, because I think this could be a spot where the schedule catches up to Pittsburgh. I think Washington's defense is underrated, and Pittsburgh's a little banged up offensively. We saw the Ravens without like a quarter of their players cover and lose by whatever. What was that? 5-point game?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, any option is not the best option. Obviously, it's going to sound a little crazy. No. So I'm going to say Washington at 8.5-point dog on the Monday afternoon football games. Pittsburgh's getting all these weekday afternoon type of games. Don't bet it. Don't bet Washington money line, but I don't hate it at 8.5. There's a reason it's come from 10.5 to 8.5.
Yeah, it has taken some money. We got Mike, Jags plus 390 on the money line. Strami, Giants plus 380 on the money line. Bill, the Bengals. I'll tell you what, if any of you get it right, you better be in chat next week taking your victory lap, because we will remember.
I'll say one quick thing. Miami is too heavy of a favorite.
Agreed.
You can't be 11.5 against the Bengals, and I know there's no Burrow, but you were like 8.5 against the Jets. That doesn't make sense, but I know your next question. No, I'm not betting the Bengals plus 11.5. I'm just staying away from the game.
Same. So am I, but I will say if I had to take one of these teams, the Eagles would be my actual choice, just because I think they're truly better than all these garbage teams we're talking about. I think the most, if you're talking about the Bengals are plus 450 on the money line. I don't think that's that crazy. I know the Dolphins have a very good defense. I'm not overly sold on them. So again, we're talking about big time upsets. None of these teams are going to make my card. I guess there's a situation though where I tease Cincinnati up north of 17. I do not think they get blown out in the spot. But yeah, listen, what you brought up is very valid with the Steelers schedule. It is not easy to be playing on all these weird times. They lost a key contributor on defense with Bud Dupree going out for the year. Maybe they, and Washington has shown the ability with Gibson, McKissick, even Alex Smith. You got to give him credit. I am a little worried about him behind that line with this type of pass rush, but we will see what happens. But we are going to bounce on out of here. Chat, like I said, this is fun. If you have any questions, if there's a game we didn't get to or anything comes up, again, follow us on Twitter at JazzRazDFS, at Julian Edlow. Get in Slack. We will be in there. A lot to break down. So college basketball today, college football tomorrow, NFL Sunday. NFL Monday and Tuesday. A lot of sports here at awesemo.com. Good luck, everyone. Enjoy your Friday, and we will see you next week.